It was a warm summer afternoon in Miami, Florida. The kind of day when school's out, the sun blazes down on backyards, and laughter echoes from every corner of the neighborhood. 9-year-old Yasser Lopez, a bright and adventurous kid, was spending the day with his cousin. They were two regular boys with big imaginations, playing near a pond, surrounded by woods and the feeling that nothing in the world could ever go wrong. Yasser was smiling. He had just won a race to the water, splashing in the shallow edge with his shoes still on. His cousin was nearby, handling something they'd been curious about, a fishing spear gun. It had been lying there as part of some old gear, and curiosity, as it often does, got the better of them. Without warning, the loaded spear gun misfired. The long 30-inch steel spear, meant to pierce through fish in the ocean, launched forward at deadly speed. The world slowed. In a flash, the unthinkable happened. The steel arrow shot straight into Yasser's skull, entering right above his eye and coming out the back of his head. His cousin screamed. Panicked and shaking, the cousin ran for help, screaming incoherently. Adults rushed to the scene. What they saw was beyond any horror they could imagine. Yasser, conscious, confused, with an arrow piercing through his brain, the rod sticking out on both sides of his skull. There was no time. Paramedics were called immediately. The spear was so long that they had to cut part of it off just to get him inside the emergency vehicle. Even the 911 dispatcher was in shock when the call came in. But the most shocking thing of all? Yasser was still awake, still alive, still talking. Doctors later said, "He shouldn't have been. This injury, it was the kind that instantly kills, but somehow, the spear had missed every major blood vessel and vital part of the brain by mere millimeters." Yasser Lopez was rushed to Jackson Memorial Hospital in Miami with part of a 3-foot spear still embedded in his head. By now, the shocking images had begun to circulate among trauma teams. A 9-year-old with a spear through his brain and still breathing. The ER staff prepared for the worst. Neurosurgeons were called urgently. One of them, Dr. George Garcia, would later say, "I've never seen anything like this in my life." It was almost impossible to believe he was alive. Once stabilized, Yasser was taken to surgery. The mission? Remove the spear from inside his skull without triggering massive brain bleeding, swelling, or fatal damage. It was one of the riskiest surgeries ever attempted on a child that age. The spear had narrowly missed critical areas, just a few millimeters from the optic nerve, his vision, grazed past the motor control regions, movement, and barely avoided major arteries that supply the brain. Surgeons operated for hours, slowly extracting the long metal shaft using advanced imaging, robotic tools, and near impossible precision. Not only did they successfully remove the spear, Yasser survived the surgery. When Yasser woke up, groggy, confused, with a maze of bandages, he asked for his mom. It was a moment that brought everyone in the ICU to tears. Doctors watched in stunned disbelief as he began to talk clearly, move his limbs, and even crack a faint smile. There were some initial signs of short-term memory loss and emotional disorientation, but the boy who took a spear to the brain was walking, talking, and healing. Recovery wasn't easy. Yasser had to go through months of cognitive therapy to rebuild memory and speech, motor skills training to regain balance and coordination, and repeated scans and neuroevaluations to monitor brain swelling or trauma. But through it all, he stayed strong. So did his family. His mom never left his side. The hospital team called him the boy with the impossible luck. Within 3 months, Yasser regained almost full mobility, returned home to his school and friends, and became a local celebrity, even appearing on TV. His case is now studied in medical textbooks and trauma conferences as one of the most unbelievable survivals ever recorded. The spear, once a weapon, now lies encased in glass in the hospital's trauma unit, a symbol of hope, resilience, and raw human miracle. Yasser Lopez's survival wasn't just a medical anomaly. It was a reminder that even in our most fragile moments, life finds a way. He was just 9 years old, hit with a weapon designed to kill. And somehow, against every odd, he walked back into life.